Welcome to this TED Talk with David Schwartz. I am here talking to all of you about the inspiring memoir written by Mark Herzlich called What It Takes. Mark Herzlich, let me just give you a little background, is a professional football player, linebacker in the New York Giants. The memoir starts talking a little bit about his family, where he came from. He had two parents who were collegiate athletes. They both played sports at Wesleyan University, so he comes from an athletic, a very competitive family. He takes sports very seriously, and that, as you will soon find out, is a really important part of the novel. After it talks about his family, it jumps forward to his collegiate years. He played football at BC. He was an All-American his junior year, and then something happened. He started to feel a sharp shooting, really, really bad pain in his leg. He went to see the team's trainers. They didn't know what was wrong. They did all the tests. They told him, listen, I don't know what's going on. So he played through it. He continued to play through the pain. Soon the pain got so bad, he went to see real doctors. He actually went to the world-renowned doctors to see what was happening. He went to at least four, and each one of them said, listen, I don't know what's going on. He got MRIs. He got tests taken. No one knew what was happening. Not only did this affect Mark, but this affected everyone on his team. If a doctor's telling you that nothing's wrong with you, what does that mean? Is the player faking it? What's going on? So this caused Mark to say, listen, if my team's going to be doubting me, I have to get back on the field. I have to keep on playing. And so he continued to play through it until he couldn't anymore. At some point, Mark couldn't even walk. The pain was so bad, he talked about shivering at night, not being able to sleep, having nightmares of the pain. It took control of his life. Soon he went to a doctor, and they finally diagnosed him with an extremely rare disease called Ewing sarcoma. It is a disease that affects about 2 in a million people. That's how rare it is. When he first got diagnosed, the doctors told him not only will he never be able to walk again, his chances of survival were under 10%. For someone whose life revolves around sports, whose life revolves around athletics, you can only imagine what a life-shattering statement this was, but that didn't affect him much. He kept positive, he kept the course, and he worked hard with his family to try and find a cure. After a lot of research and diving deep into this situation, Mark actually found something that would increase his chances of playing again and walking again, but was a procedure that, if performed, his chances of survival not very good. It was an extremely dangerous procedure, one that the success rate was extremely low, one that was rarely performed. However, Mark went to doctors. He asked them if they could perform it. Many said no. He finally found one that said yes. It was a procedure that would put a metal rod in his leg, and that would after getting rid of the tumor that was in his femur, the rod would be placed in place of the femur, and he would try to walk again. The purpose of this story is to inspire. It's a story that talks not only about football, not only about the story of how he got back into football. It talks about the process. Hence the title, What It Takes. What it took for Mark to get to where he is today, to get to be a Super Bowl champion on an NFL team, to get to be a husband, a father, to overcome this disease, and to triumph under overwhelming odds. It's a story that, when you read it, it'll bring tears to your eyes, and it will inspire you to find out what it will take for you to have this determination, persistence, to overcome obstacles that Mark had to overcome. In the end, it was a successful story, and he ended up beating it, and I'll delve into further what it took for Mark to do this. I have a quote here. This came toward the beginning of the memoir. It was like the introduction, and let me just read it for you real quick. Believe me, I've been on the receiving end of plenty of brutal, bone-crushing hits. Hits that temporarily flattened my lungs and scrambled my brain and sent tremors of pain radiating through my body. And after each one, I've risen up from the hard ground and walked off my pain. It's a point of pride to get right back up after a big hit. A football player is not trained for self-preservation. Now let me tell you about the hit that took it all away. This quote contains two key literary devices that really helps to get the purpose of the memoir across. Ethos and pathos. For those of you who do not know, ethos is the author gaining legitimacy, gaining credibility with the reader, and pathos is kind of evoking emotion from the person who's reading it. So he starts off by saying, believe me, I've been on the receiving end of plenty of brutal, bone-crushing hits. The two B's there, that's alliteration. Hits that temporarily flattened my lungs and scrambled my brain and sent tremors of pain radiating through my body. He uses a very distinct and violent diction here. And this is where the ethos comes in. He's telling the reader, listen, I've experienced pain before. I've been here. I'm a football player. I know what it feels like. I also know what it feels like to get over pain, to overcome this pain. He says, and after each one, I've risen up from the hard ground and walked off my pain. This is key. This is showing the reader that it not only shows how much the pain that he had in his leg affected him, it's showing that he really does care. He says it's a point of pride to get right back up after a big hit. It's something that Mark needs in his life. He uses football to get through obstacles, to get through various difficulties he's having. In this case, he had to use it to get through cancer. He says, a football player is not trained for self-preservation. This is a key part of the quote. All the way up until this point, he's talking about football, right? He's talking about the hits that put him on the ground, that has affected him. It's all about football. Then he says, now let me tell you about the hit that took it all away. At this point, it switches. And at this point, the reader can say, all right, listen, this first part, that wasn't all about football. It wasn't just about a sport. It's really about life. He's using this as a metaphor to explain his story. It's all a metaphor. He's using football. He's using his background in football to explain how he gets through it, what he does to persevere, and how he always keeps his head up and keeps on grinding away. So I think this is an amazing quote to show the ethos and the pathos, the emotion that he's able to evoke, and not only out of the reader, but also out of himself. And it really goes a long way to explain the purpose to the reader. So this is another quote that really adequately shows the pathos in this memoir. I'm going to give you a little background information. This is right after one of the doctors said that the surgery that would possibly help him walk again was too risky and it wouldn't work. So he says, I was rocked. I gripped the sides of my chair. That surgery meant everything to me. It was my ticket back to the football field. If it turned out Dr. Lattman was wrong and I wasn't a candidate for a titanium rod, I would have nothing. My football dream would be over. My mother and I sat there in a daze. Having the rod surgery could cause my cancer to spread all over my body and possibly kill me. So a couple of things here. He starts off by saying, I was rocked. Rocked is a key word here. He continues to use vocabulary that is violent and has to do with football. He goes on to say that surgery meant everything to me. It was his ticket back to the football field. He says if he wasn't a candidate, he would have nothing. That shows that without football, Mark feels that he's empty. He's nothing as a person. He's nothing as he has no real purpose. He then says, my football dream would be over. My mother and I sat there in a daze. Again, if you're in a daze, you're empty. You have empty thoughts. Your eyes are kind of glazed over. Not much is going on. In every person's life, I think you reach rock bottom. And for Mark, this is his rock bottom. This is the point in which he's truly feeling the loss. He's truly feeling the weight all come down on him at once. And it's his passion for the game that helps him make that uphill climb. He goes on to say, having the rod surgery could cause my cancer to spread all of my body and possibly kill me. But that doesn't mean anything. He wants to get back on the field. He wants to be back with his teammates, and he uses his passion of the game to drive him to do that. Now, I just want to say the title, What It Takes, Mark isn't saying that the game of football is what it takes for everyone to get through life. He's saying that each individual person needs to find their unique passion, whatever keeps them going, whatever makes them wake up the next morning, and use the tools involved in that to get through obstacles, to get through difficulties. Each individual person needs to find out what it takes for them. For Mark, in this instance, it was football. He used all the qualities he learned on the football field, and he was able to use that in everyday life situations, in a catastrophe that he had, and it ended up working out for him in the end. It's a truly awe-inspiring story. Like I said, the purpose of this memoir was to inspire people to find out what it takes for them to be a better person every single day and get through their obstacles. I really hope you enjoyed my TED Talk on Mark Herzlich's memoir, What It Takes. I encourage everyone watching this to read it if you want to be inspired and if you want to help improve yourself and the people around you. It's a great read. You can get it on Amazon. Thank you for watching.